Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen from Zen Multiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So, we are back with comic book vibes. This is episode number 2, and last episode we focused on just about how I got into comic books, right? The beginning story of it. And today we are getting into a question from Life with YouTubers, which is a phenomenal person. She has 2 kids, right? Hence life with YouTubers, with 2 YouTubers, and Brennan Blockabot and Rena Brown, which is an author, and just amazing. So check out their channel.
You will never amount to anything. We shall see, brother.
But her question was, I always really liked Silver Surfer, but I know very little about him. Could you do a show on him? So absolutely. So I'm going to get into it in the span of a couple of minutes, right? So the Silver Surfer was created by Jack Kirby, right? And if you don't know who Jack Kirby is kind of one of the pioneers of some stellar artwork when it comes to the celestial beings and just celestial type of comic book characters. But he also have made some of the best um, comic book characters that we've known today, right? So bless his soul, definitely. But the character, just getting into the character himself, Silver Surfer, his alter ego, or not his real name is Nornrad, and Nornrad comes from Zenla, which is a planet that, for lack of better words, is kind of like the utopia, right, of a planet, right? No wars, the technology is at its highest, right? And there is no disease, right? But with that, if you think about it, it kind of sounds like nirvana, right? Perfection, anything. And but people were bored, right, for lack of better words. So Nornrad, he was a astronomer, and just going into his backstory a little bit, due to the boredom of having perfection, his mom actually committed suicide, right? Just because life was so blah, right? Everything was so perfect. There's a little bit more into that, but just to give you some recap, his dad, and you can see Nornrad is just like, there's a lot of misery that goes on in his life because even though things are perfected, his mom committed suicide. And also his dad as well, right? His dad uh, was accused of intellectual stealing, right? Because when there's ideas, right? Uh, his basically his dad said like, I own this, not own, but I came up with this idea, but that wasn't the case, right? The intellectual property actually came from someone else. That led into a lot of back and forth, and anyone at their when it comes to that community and that comes to that planet of Zenla, the stress was too much, so he took his own life, right? But with that being said, something happened one day, right? A being that they never thought would come to the planet came to the planet, right? Just kind of think about it like just a really bad day, right? You ever been driving your car one day and then the check engine light goes on and you're just like, what the hell? I never thought that would happen, right? A planetary check engine light came. Basically, and that came in the form of Galactus. Now, Galactus is a cosmic being that people often confuse for being a bad guy. Um, Galactus, and there's a lot, right, that goes into Galactus' story when it comes to who he is and how he came to be. But we're gonna leave that for another story. But basically, the main premise for Galactus is he comes to planets and he devours them, right? He takes the essence from the planet and uses it for his own, to basically just feed who he is, right? And a lot of you might say, well, it sounds like a bad guy to me, but I mean, he got to eat, right? So, I mean, if you're hungry, you don't really question the things that you're eating, right? Ah, gotcha. But anyway, he comes to Zenlai and he's about to eat the planet, and for lack of better words, and Nornrad, before he came the Silver Surfer, makes a bargain, right? The bargain. He says basically, if you let me be your herald, right, I will find you planets, but please spare this one. And through some dialogue, Galactus agrees, and he imbues him with the power cosmic. Now, the power cosmic, um, is cosmic energy, right? But he imbues him with the power cosmic, which is a a byproduct of Galactus himself, right? Of his power cosmic. And this turns Norrin into what we know as the Silver Surfer. Now let's get into the aesthetics of the Silver Surfer. He is silver, right, in terms of color, and he has a metallic base coverage throughout his whole body, right? There's no part of his body that does not look metallic, even his eyeballs, right? So he is completely silver in color and metallic in terms of his skin. Now he rides on something called a surfboard, right? Now we know what a surfboard looks like, but for him, he uses it to ride the cosmic waves, right? Which is pretty amazing. And a lot of people say, well, Jack Kirby back in the day was tired of drawing ships, so he wanted to draw a character that had a surfboard, right? Which is pretty cool because when you think about the character just looked amazing, right? He was silver, and at the same time, it was kind of emotionless, but it was pretty cool. But part of that is that Galactus he took away his memories of Zenla, right? And he only had the consciousness that he has to do the mission that he said he would do, right? The bargain that he made. And Galactus did leave Zenla. He left it, right? Um, so throughout that time, Silver Surfer found planets for him to consume, for Galactus to consume. But throughout the way, he noticed that Silver Surfer was basically only finding planets that were uninhabited, right? Planets that really had no sentient beings, right? So through that process, he did kind of interject into his consciousness a little bit more, right? To basically say, find me planets. Don't find me planets that really that don't have enough energy to really um, quench my hunger, right? Or to fill me up, right? So Silver Surfer basically um, found planets. That Galactus could eat. And at that time, he transitioned to Earth. This is where we get to know the Fantastic Four, right? Silver Surfer came to Earth and said, "Hey, let me tell you something. Um, Someone's coming, and it's Galactus, and you have this amount of time before he arrives. You got to do what you got to do, right?" Um, and he met Alicia Masters, right? Alicia Masters we know as the wife of the well currently, right? She is the wife of the Thing, right? She's a beautiful woman, and she has a really close relationship with the Thing, right? Ben Grimm, which is one of the members of the Fantastic Four, and it was at this time that there wasn't really a love triangle per se, but I guess the Thing thought there was something going on with Alicia Masters and Silver Surfer. But it was that time when he met her, and Silver Surfer, Norrin Red, he observed her and asked her questions, right? And she gave him a perspective, right, that he didn't really know. And that helped to unlock some of the memories, or I would say just why it was important to preserve life itself, right? So he kind of worked with the Fantastic Four uh, to acquire, or he worked with the Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic Four used the ultimate. I think it was the cosmic nullifier, or the or something that nullifies cosmic based entities, right, or cosmic energy, and they used it against Galactus until Galactus was like, all right, I'm leaving this planet. But just to get into the and excuse any part of that was a little bit wrong in terms of the cosmic nullifier. I think it's a cosmic nullifier, if I'm not mistaken, but it's something nullifier that basically diffuses, right, or disperses cosmic energy. And that's pretty much it for the Silver Surfer, right? But when it comes to his powers, his powers are just really, I don't want to say all over the place, but when we talk about cosmic, the power cosmic, that's really up to the user of that ability to manifest it in ways that make sense for them, right? So if just talking about, he has super strength, right? And I don't want to say superhuman strength because he's not human. So he has super strength to one of the highest echelons, right? And he has invulnerability, and that's because his skin is grafted by the type of meta- I guess the metal that it is, right? Even though he is silver, but it's far beyond silver, right? He has a healing factor, right? If he was ever to be hurt in a way that penetrates his silver-based skin, that he could use the cosmic energy to then regenerate, right? Which is pretty phenomenal. He can also do it to other beings as well. He could regenerate other beings, right? Even at the cusp of death, he can, right? He has the ability to shoot cosmic based energy blasts that can basically just tear apart an asteroid, and if not a small planet itself, right? Now, his powers in terms of um, awareness are pretty wide in terms of cosmic awareness. Now, it doesn't mean that he has omnipotence, right? That he knows everything at any time and anywhere at every second, right? Not that it doesn't stretch to that level, but he has awareness of what's happening in the cosmos, right? Which is pretty cool that he's able to do that. Now, his power, we could go on with his powers, right? In terms of how he's used it. Let's get into his surfboard. His surfboard allows him to go at higher than levels of Mach speed, right? Um, Basically, he could go at the speed of light with that surfboard, and his board has the ability to morph, right? Meaning that it can transform into a myriad of different things if the Silver Surfer chooses to do it. In recent comic books, we've seen in Silver Surfer Black, he's transformed the board into a sword, right? So in earlier comics, we didn't see him do that, right? Because it didn't lend itself to the storyline at the time, but he could basically morph it into things that he would like it to morph into, right? But he uses it for the surfboard for the most part, right? Can the Silver Surfer levitate on his own with this without the surfboard? Yes, he can, but he uses that as a tool, right? He uses it. It's kind of like, well, can you go up the stairs without an elevator? Yes, you can, but you choose to use the elevator, right? Because it's easier on the body. That's it, right? Think about it like that. So that's Norrin Rad when it comes to the Silver Surfer. I hope let me just look at my time check, right? I went for 11 minutes to explain this. I wanted it to be a little bit shorter, but whatever to that. So yeah, that's the Silver Surfer. Really enjoyed that question. And on the next episode of Comic Book Vibes, we are going with speaking about life with YouTubers. We are going with a question from Rena Brown, and she has a couple of questions for the next couple of episodes. And the first one is my thoughts on who would win, Galactus versus Thanos. It's who would win slash would they actually team up, right? So I have my thoughts on that because it depends on the time, right, and who has what. For example, sometimes when I think about Thanos, he's often part and partial to the Infinity Stones, right? Or the Infinity Gauntlet. So it's hard for me to think about Thanos without the Infinity Gauntlet. But if I was to remove that, then I have a clear winner for who would win, right? But if he has the Infinity Stones, then the argument kind of changes a little bit. So we'll find out on the next episode. Everyone take care.